we're so fixated for years now on $1 hex. And since we've, been beat down to penny hex for so long, it seems unattainable. And it seems like that would be the absolute peak. But I was saying to myself, what about all the people that need $5 hex? And I know people in that boat. I know quite a few people that got in a little bit later, don't have as big of a bag. They've been accumulating. They still don't have the massive bags of some of the early adopters. So, they need, $2, $3, $4, $5 hex to actually realize gains and have life-changing wealth. And I think those days will easily come once, we organically kind of flush out the people up to the $1, which there's still quite a few in the pool. But it's that whole Pareto chart I did a long time ago on the bag holders and how the ecosystem grows organically. We've still got people with tens of millions, hundreds of millions, and then single-digit millions of hex to flush out. The hundreds of millions bags, I'm talking about people that control 100 million or more hex. Just looking at, the charts and the blockchain and activities, there are some folks out there. Are they all ready to be, fully dumping? Doesn't look like it. But they're a small group of people. They're not the mass majority of even OG hexagons. Keep in mind, guys, I think to get 100 million hex at the all-time low, it took you something like, I don't know, $10,000 or $15,000. During those times, not a lot of people had that kind of money after the initial AA was underway. This took place, 30 days or so after the AA was underway. So a lot of people, myself included, had already spent quite a bit of their stacked up capital to go and invest. And there was a lot of FUD. There was a lot of uncertainty. And we had the pandemic. We had a lot of things just starting out underway, stock market crash. So for people to say, hey, yeah, the world is collapsing around me. I might lose my job. Don't know if I can even go to the grocery store. Yeah, let's go ahead and take money that we really can't spare and throw it all into this crypto asset that looks like maybe it's going to be a swing and a miss. I mean, it's easy to look back now and say you coulda, shoulda, woulda, but immersing yourself in the time, not that many people have those big of bags. And I'm not talking about big whales like Richard or other folks that didn't need it. I'm talking about, the lower level investors that didn't have life-changing wealth, were still trying to make that first million, so on and so forth. The ones that did acquire it, well, many of them have sold out, okay? And a lot of them have just kind of tapered off, or they had big stakes in or whatnot. But anyway, a lot of that's going to oscillate out. There's some that'll probably stay in the pool all the way up to, $4 or $5 hex, whatever, because they know how to take profits incrementally. They're not, again, an all or nothing binary mindset of, I have to cash my entire stack out at this price and then I'm done. Instead, they see the long-term payouts that they can achieve without having to kill the golden goose. We've talked about that before. But it's back to the Pareto chart. So those guys start flushing out the tens of millions of hex holders. They start taking profits, flushing out. Percentage of those guys are staked. The single-digit ones, they already can't wreck the system. I mean, even 7, 8 million hex to dump, it's really not going to do much damage to the charts. And to get, I think, $1 million out now, what do you need? Well, it was 10 million hex. Now maybe it's maybe around 8, 9 million, whatever. No, it's more than that. It was 100, maybe 80 million. I'm thinking 10 cent hex. This is 1.6 cent hex. Anyway, not that many guys have the firepower to even really dent the charts to that magnitude, and most are not going to hold even to $1. Let's be clear. A lot of people are anxious to take profits. They need the money. They want out, whatever. And it's tough to hold the FOMO bags. We saw it during the bull market. Wait until, let's say, this runs to even 20 cents again, 25 cents. Do you really think a lot of the guys that are pounding the drums will hold to even 50 cents or make 60 cents or a new all-time high? Very, very few. I mean, and it's hard. And I'll admit, it's easy to say, yeah, I'll just hold the diamond hands. But when you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, and this is crypto, I mean, crypto can crash in 10 seconds. We've seen it already, right? You can go from $100 to nothing instantly. So it's very volatile, and we know that this happens all the time. So, and not necessarily a rug pull. It's just sometimes there's massive dumpage and bear markets, and it freaks people out. So you don't want to get too greedy, and then you don't want to you want to take some profits. So people incrementally start taking profits and cashing things out. and reducing their bags. Here's a good thing with that as well. When they dump, it's kind of a one-shot deal because they can come back in and buy hex. Maybe they're hoping for a dip. Usually they're going to use the money for something else. They come back in and they start stacking hex in the bag. The chances of them getting back to a quantity that they left is very, very slim. And it certainly isn't going to happen with staking. Big Payday was a one-time event. A lot of those stakes have been ending. More to come over the next 18 months or so. A lot of those that'll be coming out. And, you know, to get T-shares, they're more expensive, guys. I mean, you need a lot more hex staked a lot longer to get the amount of T-shares you could have gotten for, you know, next to nothing in the early days. Try to get 100 T-shares today. 1,000, yeah, you need lots and lots of hex, and usually staked out for quite a bit of time to even get that kind of T-share volume. So it's not what it used to be that way. And more people will realize that, and they want to try to rebuild their stack. What's the best way in hex? Obviously, dollar cost average and staking. I think that's where staking will start to come into play, possibly a little bit more. But then it's the guys with, you know, lower single-digit millions or hundreds of thousands of hex, and then again, you know, a guy with 100,000 hex at $5, you know, now he's got 500,000. Even then, he's not in the 7-digit, you know, life-changing wealth category. But how many guys will still have millions at that price? I would speculate very, very few. Most people are going to dump out well before then, and rightfully so. Look, if you've been disciplined this long, you've been holding the line, and you're staked out, and you're just like accumulating yield, and like, hey, I got a big bag. I want to take some profits. I don't need all this. You know, I have a time horizon of my own. You know, maybe some people are pushing retirement. Other people are maybe have a longer time horizon. You know, they're all going to play a little bit differently. But yeah, people will take profits just like Bitcoin, ETH, everything else out there that runs. People that have massive bags in the beginning, they hit a FOMO threshold, and then they just start to, you know, take profits, and it tapers off, and they no longer have that bag. The people that had 10,000 Bitcoin back in the early day, or 100,000 or 50,000, they're pretty much all gone at $1. Definitely by 100. Most of them didn't make it to $100, much less, you know, 40, 50, 60,000.